You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this
And
is our Pride Celebration review for Some Like It Hot. And as always, for our big Pride drag review for the year, I'm joined by my friend and fellow CinemaSnarks podcast host, Ren. Hi, Ren.
hi, Larry.
So we're
I
back
am some
again.
like it. I'm like hot in this like fur coat.
Well,
Luckily, the little room is in the basement, so it's usually a little cooler down here, anyways. But as my mother taught me when I was young, we suffer for the sake of beauty.
well, today we are back with a bit of a outside the box drag film this year with Some Like It Hot, the iconic film from director Billy Wilder, starring the iconic Ms. Marilyn Monroe. And if you don't know, a big starting point reason we chose this film. Ren and I are both huge fans of Ms. Monroe and admirers of her beyond the superficial reasons that the media likes to harp on over and over and over again.
Like she's a badass businesswoman.
They, they just never give her credit for,
No.
including with films such as this. I also think her talent is on full display here, which we will talk about as we get into the film. But it also stars iconic father Tony Curtis, father to now Academy Award winning Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jack Lemmon in this kind of fun comedy. The film follows two musicians who have to go on the run after they witness a mafia murder. So they join an all female band, get in drag, and go across the country where they meet the ever so delightful Sugar Cane, played by one Marilyn Monroe. So, Ren, first off, your general thoughts on Some Like It Hot,
It holds up really well for a movie from 1959.
right? It's almost
Like,
70
not only a
years
movie from
old,
1959, but a movie with cross-dressing from 1959. It holds
right?
up really well. I think that's part of why I like shied away from it, is I was like, I don't know if this is like properly drag or what, but I did a little bit of research on it, and apparently there is this very famous cross-dresser drag performer named, was it Barbette?
Okay.
um, that was a drag aerialist, was basically like a circus performer. And they hired Barbette to coach Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis on gender illusion for the film, which I
Oh,
kind of love that they took it like very seriously. Now, I
granted.
will say the film is in black and white, although by 1959, when this movie came out, there was certainly films in color. And in fact, Marilyn Monroe's contract said that the movie would be filmed in color. But when they actually saw Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis in their drag in the like Technicolor film, they were horrifying. And so Billy Wilder was like, no, what was the quote? Unacceptably grotesque was what they said. Marilyn Monroe said it was ghoulish and was like, it's fine. We can do it in black and white.
You know what? Let's change the plan. You're right, actually.
It'll be all right. It's 1920s. And
This film is a lot of fun because it's not the drag, like obviously like Medea or like Big Mama's House, where they're meant to be women. It's like this man dressing up as this comedic because
yeah,
it's comedic drag, but they're
yeah.
still in drag in the film
It's
itself.
drag for, it's like cross-dressing for the farce of it. It's
Yes.
Mrs. Doubtfire style drag, where it's like the characters must pretend to be women by
Victor
necessity.
Victoria.
Yes, Victor Victoria. Yeah, it's very Victor Victoria. The musicians, they're actors, they need the job, and that's literally almost the exact same plot line, just with a woman. It definitely works. Also, fun history film facts. So it actually helped to get rid of the Hays Code, which was the pre-MMPAA sort of thing that there was the rules that filmmakers would agree to just like amongst themselves so that the government didn't get involved. And they were already starting to move away from them, but they actually made this film outside the strictures and the approval of the Hays Code because it features LGBT related themes, obviously including cross-dressing, and also, spoiler, because Jack Lemmon starts to fall in love with this little rich little dude that wants to marry him, which is just delightful, really, the way they play it out. It actually doesn't really come across as like, oh, he's just taking advantage of this man. It really comes across as just like a person, like a girl who's like, I just want the security of a man with money who's going to take care of me. Like, I get that. I get that. It doesn't feel skeevy at all. Yeah, that's literally the question that Tony Curtis poses to Jack Lemmon is, why would a man want to marry another man for the security? But partially because Some Like It Hot came out without the Hays Code and leaned into LGBT themes, and was super duper successful. That was one of the biggest nails in the coffin of the Hays Code. And so it is actually a pretty significant piece of like LGBTQ film history, if you think about it. So lots of good reasons why this should be appreciated in the context of Pride Month and our Pride drag films.
Ren just came with the history lesson as always. That's why we keep Ren around, really.
It's my favorite part. I am a nerd.
But yes, obviously throughout history we've had kind of look at the funny man who dresses like a woman to get laughs and to be the butt of the joke. And the big thing that really separates this one is that John Lemon subplot that takes place and the ending.
I'm a man. Well, nobody's perfect.
Like literally the ending line of the film being like, damn it, I'm a man. And he like rips off the wig. And the guy's just like, no one's perfect. Like it's just no big
love
deal.
Is love, right? That's like kind of the whole moral is love is love. He's falling in love. He doesn't care.
He's like, cool, we're still gonna get married. It's like
it's adorable.
They're cool with it. They're like, all right, we've got this connection. We're fine. It doesn't matter if we're two men.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, obviously it's for the times. This is 1959. I think that's a very, very progressive and somewhat wild way to end your film in the 50s. Yeah. This film about like prohibition. And I just love that they're like sneaking liquor into all of these places in the 20s.
Booze is a pretty like repetitive theme. There's a lot of drinking. Another thing, though, I really liked about it is it really does, and why it holds up, is it focuses a lot on their experience being women and then like being on the other side and being like objectified. Like immediately he gets on the train and gets patted on the butt and he's like, like scandalized. He's like upset every time he turns around. They're both like, oh my God, men. Like, and I appreciate that sort of flipping the gender roles and actually pointing that out and making a joke of it, but like not in a way that minimizes it, but like, you know, points it out.
Certainly. And I think Marilyn is kind of at some of her peak powers here. Obviously, there was some troubled stuff going on the set for Some Like It.
This was Marilyn towards the end of her career when she was a little bogged down in the pills and the Arthur Miller of it all.
This film showcases why she was the movie star she was, even among the controversies and, you know, the difficult to work with and the lines and all that jazz that was happening.
She was so incredible.
Is she has this innate, just one, this is my favorite of her comedic performances. She obviously has the whole kind of dumb sex bomb down at this point in her career, and she kills it in this film. But there's just this amazing charm that radiates off of her that I don't know, it's like it's cliche, but it's that star quality type of idea that not everyone can just walk in front of the camera and just be this effortlessly charming, funny, beautiful woman, you know, like it just is what it is.
let's like say again, like to her credit as a businesswoman, they were shocked that she wanted to do the film. They did not expect that a big star like Marilyn Monroe would want to do it. And this movie was huge. So like I think let's give her some credit for like reading the script and being like, no, this is for me. Especially at a time in her career when she was trying to not be the dumb blonde so much.
She was trying to get away
but
from
was like,
this.
you know, this is gonna be big. Let's do it. And she went for it. So good on her.
And of course, obviously, if you know about Marilyn Monroe, she was quite the ally to the queer community, even in her day. She also was quite the supporter of equal rights when it came to race. She's a very progressive woman in the 50s. And again, doesn't get credit for a whole lot of that because we're so stuck up on sad, tragic Marilyn Monroe story.
Beautiful, sexy, yes.
And let's not say
and her
let's
tragic
say it
end.
right here. She looks amazing in this film. So not to take away from the sexiness, particularly on that boat scene. I'm like, okay, well, Tony Curtis, it's great acting to try to pretend you're not like falling head over heels, just draw on the floor, tongue like wagging when she's like seducing him on the boat scene. It's so good.
Yeah, Patrick was in and out while I was watching it. He was like, "Why is he pretending? Why can't he Why can't he be attracted to her?" And I was like, "Because he's a manipulative shit." Like,
but let's say that's the part of the story that probably ages the worst.
Yes,
is
yeah.
The pretense of their romance. He gets no blowback. There's no
to be
blowback.
fair, she also lies about who she is immediately as well. She is also scheming. I give it a little bit of the pass because they're both lying to each other.
Yes, it's lies on lies on lies, and at the end of the day, that's again, like you said, the moral of the story kind of love is love with both of these little relationships we end up with because they're basically like, you know what, the connection was there even though we were under false pretenses. We did like each other quite a bit, so you know. It's also fun, like while he's in full drag, is when he like first runs up and like kisses her, or not first, but when he runs up and kisses her on the piano, and she just is like, "Oh, what's it, Josephine?" Oh my!
Steady laughs as you're going through. It's very good, very quippy. Like again, like it holds up. Like the script is fun to read. He describes Marilyn Monroe's walking like Jello on springs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a funny film, even in 2023. Again, it's because they don't do a lot that's like offensive. Like none of the jokes, like, you know, they're a little outdated because it's 50s mentality, you know, whatever. But nothing is like outwardly just like, oh my God. You're not like
There's
scandalized.
The men being gross are the men being gross. Like there's not like excuses made for them being gross. To be fair, Jack Lemmon's character does fall in love with the guy who like tries to accost her in the elevator. That's a little dated, right? But
he got the bracelet and he was won over. It was over and done with. The bracelet won him over, and then his bracelet was given away to another woman. But you know,
I'll never meet a man who will take care of me so well. He is
man
also like this gross,
away.
weird old dude, and then he's like forced to hang out with him because he's trying to do his friend a solid. And I think that's probably like another piece that's just like weird is like Tony Curtis is like a shitty friend. He's the worst. He's terrible, and I don't understand why Jack Lemmon's character hangs out with him. Josephine and Daphne. Josephine is a dick. He's just like he gambles away all their shit and is a general like monster. Jack Lemmon is like, I'm in love with Sugar. She's incredible first. And he does not even for a second care and just like swoops right in and is like, she's mine now. And then like threatens him and is it's just a terrible, terrible friend.
He is a really terrible friend.
Awful. He's the worst. And
he makes that connection with Sugar first, damn it, on that train.
Yeah. I was like, man, what about bro code? Jeez. What the hell?
How fun is it to see them like having to break up their ice like that? Like she getting this like big old like chunk of ice and is like breaking it into the sink and like scooping it up.
Scene though, right? She's like, no, I'm dumb.
Of course, she gets to sing one of her more iconic songs here as well. Multiple times she gets to sing.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yes, it's a great one.
And she sounds great, right? Like she doesn't always have like incredible like singing scenes, but the singing is really good in this movie.
As we said, there are little quips we have with it. There are little dated moments throughout, as you'd expect, really, from any 1950s film. I think you're hard pressed to find any of those films these days and watch them and not have to accept them for the time in which they came out. But particularly for a film that has so many kind of progressive ideas woven into its fabric, it handles those subjects really, really well. Much better than films that came out after it did. Much better than you'd ever expect from a film of 1959 to handle.
There are 2000s films that don't hold up this well.
Listen, the 2000s were a little bit of a rough time. We threw the F word around like it was nobody's business in 2000s comedies.
The 2000s and the 90s was like a terrible time for any sort of understanding about transgender versus drag queen. It's just so muddled and misunderstood and like the butt of every joke, right? Like
Yes.
in Friends, there's so much. That's probably like some of the cringiest parts of Friends when you rewatch them is like all of the mocking that Chandler gets because his dad became a woman, and they like treat it like as such a joke. And it's like, ooh, this is same thing with like to Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, which, you know, obviously a big part of me like loves. There's definitely things in there to enjoy, but there's a very clear misunderstanding of like the difference between drag queens and trans people, and it's very muddled and weird in that film. But this one is just like, no, these are men who are cross-dressing. They know what's going on. They have a good reason to be cross-dressing.
And I love that, like, even the mobsters don't question it at all because they know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They clearly know the reasoning of why they're doing it, but there's no
which
like
is actually the reasoning why they're doing it, because they wanted the jobs, right, to get out of town.
And
I do also love the Clark Kent Superman of it all, that like nobody can tell the difference between them as a man and them as a woman. Like they're so unrecognizable as when they're in drag.
They nod to it, like Marilyn when she first sees Tony Curtis's character like on the beach with his stupid glasses and he's doing that stupid accent. It's just like, you look so familiar.
Yeah, it's like slight, yes, but it's
or
not,
like even the mobsters are like,
see them in there, like, yes, they feel like I've seen you before.
Nah, we would have been caught dead in Chicago. Like, oh, okay, sure.
Yep. One of those suspension of disbelief, Clark Kent, Superman type things. Okay, sure.
And of course, we have like ridiculous
Mrs. Doubtfire. I totally believe that they would not recognize their own father because
he went full prosthetic, like in film prosthetics. Like they acknowledge it all, the whole shtick.
Now that I've gotten older and I know more about prosthetics, that whole charade is even more shocking and impressive. Like that guy was going through like
dedicated
hours of prep to get into that outfit and into that drag, and then like hours to get out of it, and like dying underneath prosthetics.
50s film that gave us a message that, you know, a 1990s film couldn't. That was much more problematic with the tricking of the straight man trope.
Some like it hot, knocking down doors to Wong Fu, awkwardly shifting through them.
And honestly, like the biggest sins this film commits are once again sins that 2000s films commit. Like She's All That is literally based on the premise of like falsehood. Like we're tricking people into doing things to fall in love type of bullcrap. That one's maybe even worse because you're like doing it for a bit. And at least this one,
but again, this one's a little bit better in my book because they're all being deceptive, and even the like they're like deceiving the like rich dude that Jack Lemmon Daphne ends up with, but he's also like gross at the beginning, so like I don't feel like bad for him. Unfortunately, it doesn't turn into a weird gay bashing thing, right? Instead, it's like
he doesn't like try to kill Jack Lemmon on the boat. So
great.
So Some Like It Hot, a lot more progressive than we maybe initially even thought. Like a little bit nervous heading into rewatching for this review. Turns out it's aged incredibly well. It has great comedic performances from all of our entire lead ensemble. They're all wonderful.
Mhm.
The cinematography looks lovely as a black and white film. I think it was the right choice,
Mhm.
particularly with the makeup, I'm sure, that was going on for our leads.
Unacceptably grotesque.
Foolish makeup that was on display,
Just love it.
But it's
Had you seen
funny,
this
it's
movie
fun.
before?
Yes, yeah, I've seen it several times. It's one of my like favorite films, one of my favorite comedies ever. I
Really?
think it's
Well, it is like
fun,
absolutely, it's on
funny.
like all kinds of lists as like number one. I
Yeah.
actually think I've only really seen, I feel like I've only really seen it like on TV in passing. I've not like sat
Really?
down until like, yeah, look for this to like really sit and like watch it. I
Okay.
like knew everything about it. And I definitely knew like I definitely seen the ending like a bunch of times. It's like a
Sure.
really famous ending. But yeah, I don't think I like fully sat down and like gathered the whole thing. Also, just want to shout out to all of the like ladies that are in the band with them. Those girls are like hilarious and delightful. All of the actors, very incredible, obviously, comedy gold, but like really even like the small bits are all
Yeah.
really funny as well. It's great.
It's great.
am pleasantly surprised when I like sat down and was like, oh, this is like good. Especially because I was doing like a little bit of research on it ahead of time and was like, oh, this is like still listed really high
Yeah.
on best comedies of all time. Okay, great. All right.
Yeah,
Oh, let's do
it doesn't rely, it does like that's what makes it such a classic film that I think a lot of more recent films have struggled with on being felt like timeless or classic. It doesn't rely on tropes of the time as much. It doesn't rely as heavily. It's already a period piece because it's about the 20s.
Mhm.
So much of the jokes are just kind of like timeless. They're witty, they're smart, the comebacks are fun and quick, and the performances sell it all. So it's one of those that really, like we have said, ages very well, deals with some hot button topics in the 50s extremely well, and has held on the test of time. As I said, one of my favorite personal comedies, like ever. I love Some Like It Hot.
But we
Obviously,
love Marilyn Monroe
we
because
love
she's just
Marilyn, an
she's the boss,
underrated
man.
comedic gem, first of all. And I think that's on full display here in this film. So that was our review and discussion for Some Like It Hot. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos, including each of my Pride celebration reviews this month. Ren, where can people find you?
Nowhere. I'm an enigma. Just kidding. I
Basically.
mean, you can probably find me on Instagram if you try hard enough. It's at RennyPoo13. You could also yell at me in the void on Twitter at Ren Manley. But the best place would be my theater company's website. We are Audacious Theater, audacioustheater.com, and we have shows happening all summer, but it's for the kids, so maybe not as much for the LGBT. There's lots of rainbows, though. We are big on the rainbows.
Perfect. And then make sure to leave your thoughts and comments down below. How do you feel about Some Like It Hot and how it deals with these very progressive issues for a film set in the 20s and filmed in the 50s? Let us know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit both of us up across the interwebs. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.